Hello, Oklahoma Sooners fans and college football fans. Welcome into Oklahoma at the voice of college football. I'm your host, Josh Mahler. You can find me on X at @RealJoshMahler. And of course, follow the voice of college football on social media as well. You can find them all over the place at the VOCFB. And follow on social media to keep up on everything that we've got going here and so much more. If you're a college football fan that likes to keep up with things around the league, this is the place for you. Go check out the other channels if you're a fan of another college football team, or if you're just a fan of college football in general. The voice of college football has got you covered. I am very excited. I know I am a new host here on the Oklahoma channel. Very excited to join the network and to dive in and specifically to bring Oklahoma fans more information, more news, and to keep you up to date on all things Oklahoma Sooners football. Go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast, give a 5-star review. That is the best way to help us grow. Today, we're diving into the Oklahoma Sooners 2026 signees. There have been a couple of recent ones, and recently the Oklahoma Sooners have had a little bit of a recruiting drought. They haven't had any commits here recently, dating back to January, whenever they had a 4-star wide receiver Daniel Odom give his commitment. So again, all the way back to January, it's been a very long time for the Oklahoma Sooners, the longest drought that I can remember. It was big news to hear that not only did they get a couple of recruits to give their commitment here in the 2026 cycle, but on top of that, it was 2 very good recruits. And it was 2 recruits, the first 2 recruits on defense. So that was very big news. First, starting off with the 3-star defensive back, Niko Jandreau. He's a 6'1", 185-pound safety. He played safety, but we'll see where this defensive staff ends up putting him, where they think that he fits best. He's from Hamilton High School in Chandler, Arizona. Jandreau is the 5th verbal commit for the Oklahoma Sooners in the 2026 cycle. And like I said, the first on the defensive side of the ball. So very big news, very good news for the Oklahoma Sooners as they look forward to really get things rolling with this 2026 cycle. And, they're pressing a lot harder now that the 2025 season is now over. All of the signees have now officially signed. They're searching for those verbal commits a little bit more vigorously. And so good to start to add on the defensive side of the ball. Nico Jandro, he mentioned a Parker Thune of OU Insider. He said these spring visits, they were kind of like official visits in some sort of way. He went on to say, I could kind of see everything that I wanted out of all of these programs as he was getting, different visits and, visits from the coaches coming to see him. And then he even went on to tell Parker Thune that out of all the places that he went, there was really no place like OU. And so he was very excited to sign with Oklahoma. He knew that this was the place that he wanted to go to. And of course, giving his verbal commitment now. And this was last week that he was able to give this commitment. So big news for the Oklahoma Sooners to be able to land such a great talent and kind of an underlooked talent. I know he's a 3-star, and a lot of Oklahoma fans might look at that and say, just a 3-star, what are we getting? And if you were to look up some of the highlights of this guy, which are all over social media now, especially after this news broke. And he's a very good talent, and I'll talk more to that here in just a moment. But he only visited Norman once on an unofficial visit. Came to Norman, and again unofficially. And so there's a little bit of a difference really in the rules book of an official visit and an unofficial visit. And he is set to visit again on June 20th. So here coming up, but he really has already seen pretty much all that he needed to see in order to make his verbal commitment. So very big news for Oklahoma that they didn't even have to get him in on an official visit in order to do that. Nico decided unofficially that he wanted to be a Sooner just a couple of weeks ago, but he kind of waited, and for a very good reason too. He waited to be able to inform the coaching staff whenever OU coaching staff, Coach Hall, ended up coming down and made his way down to Arizona for a visit Nico. And Nico then told him right there on the spot he wanted to be an Oklahoma fan. There was a video out there that Parker Thune posted, and it truly was an amazing moment for this young man to be able to tell the coaching staff that wanted him so badly, and for many reasons. And it was big news. It was big news for this coaching staff as they try to pull this in. And Coach Hall extremely happy to have Nico come on board. Oklahoma was able to beat out Mizzou, Washington, USC, and Georgia Tech for his commitment. Four Power Four schools that they were able to beat out. Mizzou really maybe being the bigger one. Washington being in the Big Ten, no joke. And of course, USC, especially with their recent push on the defensive side of the ball, the man whose name must not be spoken among Oklahoma fans, kind of mentioned, how he wanted to really focus more on defense. And that's exactly what USC is doing, and going after a guy like Niko Jandreau. I think that was, a big push for them. And of course, Oklahoma being able to take that away from four, plus, really came down to the top five schools, and this was it for Niko. And this was big for Oklahoma to be able to secure him. Now, if you were to go back and look at some of the highlights from Niko Jandro, one thing that I would that I notice is that he's a safety that really loves to come down and play physical on the ball. He's a hard hitter. He's a heat-seeking missile. He recognizes the play very quickly. He's got a very high IQ. I personally think he plays more like a very high 3-star, if not like really close to a 4-star. I mean, I'm not really sure why. I don't know what exactly all goes into the ratings. I think Rivals one of the better uh, overall rankings. The ratings, and they rate him at a 3-star. But when you watch his tape, and it might be because of where he's coming from, maybe it's the schools that he's playing against. But when you watch his tape, his recognition to be able to find when there's a run play, or even just following it and seeking after the ball, being that ball seeker, he does a phenomenal job. Extremely high IQ, football IQ. Reminds me of a lot of a man that just got drafted this past NFL draft for the Oklahoma Sooners, being in Billy Bowman. He reminds me a lot of him, the way that he plays. And I know that Oklahoma fans don't like the comparisons like that because it makes it feel like there's some sort of expectation. And I'm not setting an expectation for him. I just see a lot of Billy Bowman in him. The way that he seeks after the ball, the way that he finds the ball, whether it's being passed or if it's being ran. Uh, one of the better one of the better traits from Billy Bowman was when there was a run play, he was extremely good at finding out those runs and finding where the ball carrier is and getting downhill fast. And he loved to make big contact. That's the kind of traits that I see here in Niko. So very big, and that's something that Oklahoma definitely wants on their team, especially in this Brent Venables defense. Oklahoma, they're also hoping to bring in Niko's brother, Bo Jandro, who is a 3-star linebacker. They're hoping that he would be able to commit as well. Again, another 3-star that, yes, you might see the 3 stars and just hold back, but recognizing this defensive staff, how amazing they have been to switch over guys like Danny Stutzman, who really struggled in a lot of ways since just before this whole Brent Venables system came to Oklahoma. Even guys, you look around, I think Ethan Downs had a lot of struggles that you could see quite visible on the field. Even Billy Bowman himself, they've all progressed so well. And I think Oklahoma sees something special in these guys, both the Jandro brothers, both being 3-star, DB and a linebacker, but they progress that they're able to pull out of these two. If Bo were to come to Oklahoma, that would be quite special. He holds an offer from Oklahoma, and he will visit on June 20th as well. But this will be an unofficial visit for Bo. Niko mentioned that he wants to entice other defensive players to come to Oklahoma, and he wants to start with his brother. Of course, that being the biggest one. Any of us who have played sports and been able to play with a sibling, or even just having a sibling, you know how special that would be to be able to play with your sibling on the same field, but also on the same team and on the same unit. That would be very special, and I'm sure that's exactly what Niko plans to do. Now, for Bo, he does hold offers from Texas, USC, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Nebraska, and others. Those are the big ones. And Oklahoma's got to recruit pretty hard, and they are starting to push really hard for Bo. They want him to come to Oklahoma. Niko now being one of those players that's able to talk directly with him and really entice him. Oklahoma's got to feel pretty good about their chances there. Another one that hit the commitment button and made his verbal commitment was a blue chip linebacker, Jakori Smith. Jakori Smith is a 6'1", 195 linebacker out of Bryant High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. He also played at, let's see here, at I'm trying to find that. I don't have that in my notes properly, but he did he did play somewhere else prior to, and I'll get to that in a second. But he's a 4-star linebacker. It would be the second defensive commit of the 2026 cycle for the Sooners and 6th overall. And what's so special about bringing Jakori Smith in and getting that commitment from him is not only is this the second of the defensive commits and being able to get another defensive commit on the board, but it would be the first that Nate Drilling, our new linebackers coach, the Oklahoma linebacker coach, has been able to pull in the first ever recruiting win, as it's his first year as an Oklahoma linebackers coach. So he worked really hard for Jakori Smith. This was a guy that he tried extremely hard when he was recruiting, because that was the kind of guy that fits his system and the kind of guy that he sees a lot in. And he was very excited to be able to get this commitment, his first ever as an Oklahoma coach. Very special right there. Jakori Smith, he chose Oklahoma over several Power 4 programs: Nebraska, K-State, Arkansas, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Michigan, and a few others. But those being the most notable, those are some pretty good names, especially when you talk about Nebraska and what they're building there, the culture buildup. It's still a big brand. K-State, they're always kind of in the mix for the Big 12, and even more so now that Oklahoma and Texas are out of there. Arkansas, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Michigan, those are all big names. And so for Oklahoma to get a commit from Jakori Smith, with all of those other schools also trying to press for him, very big. This is a 4-star and a deserving 4-star as well. So very, very good blue chip linebacker that Oklahoma got out of Jakori Smith. He's a former prep teammate of OU freshman safety Omarion Robinson, and these two played together. They were both stars together on the same team at Parkview. That's where Jakori Smith played before. And so him and Smith both, with Robinson and Smith, they both went there. They played together before Jakori Smith ended up transferring over to Bryant. And Jakori Smith even told Brandon Drum of OU Insider, he said, having a man-man, having man-man, that's the nickname for Omarion Robinson. He said having him as a teammate, again, is something that played big into his decision. So very big that we had somebody that was familiar with Jakori Smith. That was a big reason why he was able to pick Oklahoma, and a big part of making that decision. That, hey, I get to be on a team and be on the same unit as a player that I'm already very familiar with, have a relationship with. I've been a star with him in the past, and so I can go ahead and move that even forward, and keep on going with the guy that I know that I'm going to get along with, a guy that I know pretty well, and a guy that's going to bring the best out of me as well. So knowing your teammates, big news. When OU ended up ramping up their pursuit of Smith, he decided to even cancel his scheduled visits with K-State and Nebraska, canceling those completely, and made it very clear that he was ready to be a Sooner at that time. And of course, now finally making his verbal commit for the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma looks to pair Jakori Smith with the commitments of maybe like a Bo Jandreau that we just mentioned from Arizona, the brother of Niko, and also Ben Wenzel from Wisconsin, and possibly even Braxton Lindsey, or at least one of the two. I know they're making a very hard push for Bo Jandreau, although Ben Wenzel and Braxton Lindsey, it could be one or the other, or it could be both. And Oklahoma would definitely look forward to try to make and get a commitment out of both of these guys, or at least one of them. They're definitely pushing for both. We'll see what the future holds for the Oklahoma Sooners as they continue down the road of the 2026 recruiting cycle.